for joining into the EPAN to the UKV pod. I'm your host, Drew Pitzer, joined by my co-host, Josh Carpenter, and we have a very special person on the pod today, Coach Josh Daniel, the South Charleston Black Eagles head coach. How you doing, Josh?
Good. How are you guys?
It's our third episode that we're airing right now. And obviously, we've had two, Eastern Panhandle guys, and now we have an opportunity to bring somebody from the MSAC. So I know Josh is quite happy about that.
Yeah, I'm ready to bridge the gap, man. Let all these people know Drew's area that think they're the best basketball teams in the state. I'm ready to let them know how we get down around here, man.
Hear it. Yeah,
For sure.
I appreciate you guys having me, man. I mean, this is, I've done a few of these over the last few years, but it's always good to, get a different perspective from a different part of the state. And, we've had some great battles with some of these Eastern Panhandle teams, and look forward to continuing to build some relationships up in that part of the area.
For sure. And I'll start us off, Josh, with them talking about playing some Eastern Panhandle teams. I know it wasn't really last year, but the year before you played both Jefferson and Spring Mills in the state tournament. What was that kind of like when you was playing against Jefferson and obviously falling to Spring Mills in the second round last year?
Yeah, so we actually were a little bit familiar with Jefferson. We had played them the year before in a shootout over at state, and so they pretty much had their whole roster back, and so I was pretty familiar with those guys. They played a different brand of basketball. I think they got a new coach this past year, but high octane, score a lot of points, super fast, and we're comfortable playing like that as well. But in that particular game, we couldn't get in a track meet with those guys, and I thought we did a really good job of just kind of slowing the game down and using our size to our advantage. And I think we held them in 30s, which pretty much unheard of for them. That's how we had to kind of grind it out. Spring Mills was a whole nother animal. I think everybody can agree with that. I didn't think we got beat by 30. I didn't think they were 30 points better than us, but there was a gap for sure that we needed to close. And obviously last year didn't turn out the way we wanted to. We thought that we could get back to where we were, but and ran into a really good Beckley team as well. But yeah, and there's some good basketball played up in that part of the state.
What would you say is the biggest difference, though, between the two conferences? I think the glaring difference is y'all are so much more physical, and I feel like we play more of a finesse brand of basketball.
Yeah, I think both the MSAC and the EPAC, the top 4 or 5 teams are really, really good. They're probably interchangeable. Obviously in the MSAC I think we have more teams, so there's a little more depth, but those top 4 or 5 teams are as good as anybody in the state, night in and night out. We dropped to AAA this year, but I would still like to continue to play some of those teams up there. Just, it's just a little bit different style, different brand of basketball, and the kids aren't familiar with everybody like they are here in the Valley, and it just makes it fun to go out and play somebody that you're not used to.
About Spring Mills specifically, that squad, what stood out about them, and what do you think made them so much better? And then this year, they did the same thing. I mean, they won it all this year. What specifically do you think from a coaching standpoint or just talent-wise, what separated them so much these past couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, just their size is just overwhelming. We were pretty big the last couple of years, and we had good size and length, and we tried to make it difficult for people to score. But I watched them on film, and I felt good about our matchup. I really did. And then once you get out and see it, and it's live, it's different, man. It really is. I've told a lot of people they're probably as talented as a team as I've seen in West Virginia since the Mayo Huntington, from a collective standpoint. Yeah, I know that's a big statement, but they really are. I mean, they had it. When you got a 6'7" point guard and you got 6'5" guys that are, shoot it really well, and they got multiple college basketball players across the board. The little guard was, I think he I forget what his name was, but he kind of gets, I think he's a little under the radar. I thought he was as good a point guard as we played over here. Yeah.
That's the best shooter in the state. He might not be the best player in the state. I think Noah Lewis is the best player. But Akwesi Opoku Onchampong is one of the best shooters I've ever seen, regardless of level.
Say that 3 times in a row.
Really well, man. Then you got 6'7", 6'7". It's just a different beast, They guard so well, and it just make it so hard for you to score. If you can, we were 0 for 14 from 3, I think, and so just zero chance. We had zero chance, So you're gonna have to be able to make outside shots. GW did a great job this past year, slowing them down and just kind of making it a half-court game.
Yeah, following up on that, I think. Well, obviously, Coach Green is one of the greatest coaches of all time, but I think that right there, what you just said about him, that should be everyone's blueprint going forward. What can we take from his planning in that game, how he did it, because that he had the closest game with them that I've seen all year. I mean, that other than the Hanley game, which I mean, Hanley's a different squad up there in Virginia. So
That's a different school. Like that's not the typical competition you're going to see in West Virginia. It's a Virginia
Right.
school. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
Coach Green did a great job.
Yeah, and that's what they do. And they were I thought they were the best defensive team in the state this year. They did that to everybody. You know, like they held people in the 30s and 40s, and obviously when you have the best player in the state, in my opinion, Noah Lewis, it obviously helps. But you know, they're very talented across the board. He does a great job. We're obviously very familiar with those guys. You know, that's who
Right.
it's usually who we have to go against to get to go to a state tournament. They're going to be really good again this year.
So speaking on those defensive principles, what do you think makes them so good? It looks like they do a lot of gap principles, especially on defense. It doesn't look like they try to commit too many, like, hey, let's just see if I can go out and get the ball. They're actually playing really solid defensive principles with good help side defense.
They do. They actually this year they did a really good job of picking up high and pressuring the ball, but they played really sound. They switch a lot. Their help side, I mean, they have 5 guys loaded to the ball every time. Like, if you try to get into the lane, there's going to be a guy standing there that's going to take a charge. They make it really, really hard for you to get deep into the lane. And they do a great job of communicating and switching. Like, it's kind of hard to figure out sometimes. Like, sometimes they'll switch, sometimes they won't. I don't know exactly how he teaches it. If it's guard to guard, big to guard, you know, or maybe it's just a matchup. Yeah, they're really, really sound. And they don't do a ton complicated offensively. You know, I mean, he's a motion guy, 5-out motion, but they share the ball well. They don't take bad shots. They know who the best player is, and like, they're just a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to play them again, knowing what you knew, what would you change about that matchup, and how much could you really do to try to beat them? I mean, is it
Spring Mills? You're talking
yeah,
about? I mean, we have a totally different team this year than what we've had. So, like, their size would just completely overwhelm us. You know, looking back at that game, I thought we probably tried to go too much one-on-one. Like, we didn't really rely on running our stuff very well. And you're not going to beat those guys one-on-one. Like, they're just too athletic, too skilled. And then if you do beat somebody, you got to go score over 6-7. You know what I mean? Like, so
3 of them. There was 3.
like
you
you have to try to rely on, you know, generating good shots within your offense. And, you know, what we did is we panicked, we got down, and then all of a sudden we just try to go one-on-one. And that was not a good recipe for success for us.
yeah. I think about that all the time. I'm like, how can these schools that are like middle of the pack that have a good, decent foundation, like how can they compete consistently with a team that is already that naturally gifted? Like, what can you even do to realistically be like, all right, guys, we can win this game? Because it's like when we were talking to Washington's head coach, he's like, well, we're treating the regular season as if every game's a practice. So it's like, if we know we're not going to win this game, what can we do in this game goal wise? But how can you really beat those teams that are like at that elite level? It's so hard for me.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta. I mean, that is one way to look at it. Like, as far as treating each game in the regular season like a practice, but like, you know, you just have to have. You got to have a goal. You got to you know, tell your team something as far as, you know, this is where we need to get to. These are the teams we need to beat. So what are we doing every day to prepare ourselves to get to that point? You know what I mean? So like for us, we know we're going to have to go through. Well, we did. We knew we were going to have to go through GW or Beckley. You know what I mean? So like stylistically, you know, there may be games where we play a little bit different depending on a matchup, but like our base concepts, we're going to do the same things every day, try to do the same. We're not going to go press 32 minutes one game and then all of a sudden, like, that's not how we're beating GW. You know what I mean? So like, what are our base concepts? What do we need to be really good at? And let's hone in on those. Because this is how we're going to have to play in a regional championship to get to a state tournament or to go to a state championship.
Right. What was it like to actually grow up and play in the early 2000s and see guys like, you know, Patrick Patterson, OJ Mayo? I'm assuming, you know, I don't know if you got to play against them to be directly, but at least you got to see that. What was that like growing up, you know, in the early 2000s in West Virginia?
The Kanawha Valley was loaded back then. I tell a lot of people this, like, I mean, I went through and named, just in my 4 years at South Charleston, like 12 Division I players. You know, Patrick and I played on the same AAU team. He was a year younger than me. OJ and I actually played. OJ, Mayo, Bill Walker, those guys, like, we played together growing up in AAU. But just not even at Huntington, but just in the Charleston area, you had, you know, a guy like Chris Long played at Elon that I think played professionally for a few years overseas. And another one of my friends, TJ Douglas, he went to Elon. I mean, there was just guys everywhere. Adam Williams went to Kentucky. You know, he was a couple years. Another guy from St. Albans, Adam Fletcher, went to Miami of Ohio. Like, I could just go on. Cookie Miller went to Nebraska. Like, it was crazy, man. The talent was as good as it's ever been. And it was really fun. I mean, literally night in and night out. And some of those old Beckley teams, too, were unreal as well. You walk in the Armory, man, and they just have state championship banner after state championship banner hanging, and it is really good. The conference was really good, and the Kanawha Valley was excellent back then.
So so you got to grow up and see the three-peat. You were obviously in high school during that time for Huntington. What was it like playing those type of teams, though? You know, night in, night out, back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, man, it was good. I mean, we were really good when I was in high school. You know, the way it was set up was a little bit different. Like, you pretty much got one shot. Like, it was us and GW in the first round of sectionals. If we lost, we were done. If we won, we moved on. And, like, pretty much every year I was there, we were 1 or 2, and GW was 1 or 2, or Huntington was, you know what I mean? So, like, there were times we went undefeated in the MSAC. We were the first team to go undefeated in the MSAC, I think, my sophomore year. GW, we were number 1 in the state. GW was number 2. They beat us in the sectional, and we don't even get to go to the state tournament. And I think Coach Green would probably tell you too, like, we were the best team in the state, and I don't think it was really even close. I thought we
You couldn't go to Charleston. Like, that's crazy.
We didn't even go to the Civic Center. Yeah, so.
I'd be hurt.
The following year, I thought they were probably the best team, and we upset them. And same scenario, like, they didn't go. None of us or GW, never went to the state tournament at the same time. I mean, we could never be there at the same time because we always knocked each other out.
Yeah, I mean, my senior year, we got all the way up to, I think, 8th in the state, which is unheard of for a Riverside team. But we were 8th, and then I think 3 of the other top 10, or maybe 4. I think us and 3 other teams in the top 8 were in the same exact section.
Yeah.
So we were like, man, we're all screwed at this point. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, it's a gauntlet just to get to the tournament. And then you see the guys that do make the tournament, you're like, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it was with us. Like, this past year, you had us, Beckley, and GW. That's 3 of the top 5 teams in the state. Like, I think us and Beckley were 4 and 5 in the regional championship. They beat us, and all of a sudden we don't go to, you know, like, we'd been 3 years in a row. This was probably my most experienced team, you know, on paper, most talented team, and we don't even get to go, you know.
Yeah.
But we run, you know, you run into a program that has about 15 state championships who was really good as well. So just the way it falls, man. It's just the way it's a gauntlet, you know. Sometimes I know it's like that up in the Eastern Panhandle as well.
I wanted to ask you, how do you think the game has changed from when you were in that physical era? Because, like Drew says, the MSAC is physical. It was way more physical back then, but there was also a lot of talent back then. But how do you think it's changed from when you was a player to coaching now?
Yeah, I mean, everybody now obviously shoots threes. You know, the game is a lot more spread out. You don't see, I mean, I'm sure you guys up there see the same thing. Like, how many true post players do you see around the state? Like,
I haven't seen one in 2 years.
I mean, really, like, you know, even Noah Lewis, like, he brings the ball up the court. He shoots threes. Like, I mean, obviously he can score in the post, but, like,
he's still a guard, though. He's not a true post player.
And he's not. I mean, it's trickled down from NBA to you know, college now into high school, but everybody wants to shoot threes. Everybody wants to spread the court. There's not a whole lot of, you know, the biggest thing I see now with kids is, like, a lot of kids don't know how to play, because a lot of times they're the best player when they're little. They hand them a ball, go set them a ball screen, and, like, they just chase the ball. So, you know, we really try to hone in on, like, teaching our kids how to read a screen, how to read a down screen, or, you know, just simple. You know, I go and watch these all-star games and big league games, and everybody's playing a 2-3 or a 3-2. Like, then they get to high school, middle school, they have no idea. They don't have a concept of help side defense. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing that I think has really changed. It's just, like, basic fundamentals and understanding of the game of basketball. But, you know, I've changed as a coach. I think you have to evolve as well. But it also depends on your team too. So, you know, like, you can only play with the guys that are walking around in your halls. Like, if you've got a bunch of guys that can't shoot, you can't shoot 33s a game. You know what I mean? So, like, what does your team do well? Figure that out, and then try to build whatever you believe. Try to build some concepts around that.
And see, that kind of follows up to my next question. Like, how do you personally adjust to your team? Like, do you have still like philosophies or like tendencies that you won't break for anybody, regardless of who you have?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely changes. I mean, I've changed a lot since I was at Hoover. We ran a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar, but like the old West Virginia Beeline teams, like we ran a lot of that two guard stuff.
Oh, it's beautiful basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, it's hard to learn. It's hard to teach, but it worked for us, and like that's all we did. Like we didn't run anything else, but it helped create good shots for the personnel that we had. And we didn't play super fast, and we weren't super athletic, but we had guys that could make shots, and so that system worked well for us. And I played a ton of we played a ton of zone, and now I'm 95% man to man. And it's just, you just adjust to your personnel and you find whatever works for you at that time and you just kind of go with it. And so, when I got to South Charleston, I said, we're going to be a really good half-court man-to-man team, and then we can build from there. Like we can build from the inside out instead of saying, hey, I'm going to press for 32 minutes. I'm going to do this. But, let's get a good base, and then we can kind of venture out and, experiment with some different things.
Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, I wanted to ask back to how you said about like Coach Green. How hard is it to in those matchups specifically? Do you feel like you know him so well and that he knows you so well that you really can't get much by him? Because the EPAC coaches said they can't even game plan for each other anymore because they all have 20 pages of call sheets that they just call out. Is that similar to certain MSAC coaches or no?
Yeah, I mean, I joke with Coach Green. Like I call him our biggest fan because he's at all of our games. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so then we go watch GW as well a lot, and
Yeah.
it is. I mean, it's once you play a team like that, and even like a Capital or somebody that we're really familiar with, that's your rival. It's just all about execution. You know what they're going to do. They know what you're going to do. It's just really about trying to put your kids in the best position for them to go out and execute whatever it is, and hopefully you make a few more shots than they do. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, because I feel like at that point, when it comes down to that, it's like who developed the players fundamentally, who's the most fundamentally sound, who had the most skill work, who is the best individual guys in a team setting in those games. But once that, it's like everything else cancels out at that point.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like,
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. 100%. Like, I mean, so 2 years, not last year, but 2 years ago, we beat GW at GW in the sectional championship, and like we had a kid. His name was Caden Fawcett. He hit 5 threes in the second quarter. I didn't do anything. That wasn't a game plan thing. That was just a guy going and making plays. You know what I mean? And like, we had another little guard named Wayne Harris. He's at Kent State playing football right now. He was first team All-State as a sophomore, but like that year, like, he goes and gets 20 or 22, like, and he was just a dude. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have anything to do with, him scoring 22 points. He was a good player, and when the lights were shining the brightest, they played well, and that's kind of how those types of games go.
yeah, I mean, Coach Miller and Coach Kyle, Washington and Jefferson's head coach, they said they've basically went full to conceptual offense because of that, because they can't even really implement certain styles. So they're just like, well, we're running all conceptual actions now. We're just trying to get our players the most skilled individually and learn the game. So where when we go out there, it's kind of like, well, you can't scout this anyway. Which I mean, I love the conceptual style of play now. I mean, I think it's great, but they
Right.
have to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, I mean, I can tell in the first 2 minutes of a game if somebody has scouted us well or not. You know what I mean? Like, if we call something out and they're saying, hey, one of their assistants is jumping out, hey, back screen, flared, whatever, then I'm like, okay, like it's going to be hard to run our stuff.
That'd be so annoying too. You got the assistant just jumping up every call because that's what they
Yeah.
were saying at the EPAC. They were like, "Look, they're jumping up and calling out every single play before we're even running the play." Like that would be so annoying. So they're just like, "Well, we're just going away with that. We're running conceptual. We're doing handoff screens, all this. We're running all that."
Right, right. Have you guys ever seen any of the Kelly Church scouting reports before?
I was just at his practice a couple days ago, so I got some of his stuff, man. I have. He made me keep it. He made me like speak to the team afterwards because
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, I'll let you come watch practice. But you got to talk to the guys after." So I was like, "Okay." I tell you what, that was his practice, and I've seen every practice around here in the Panhandle is the toughest practice outside of a college practice I've been to in the state, and it's not even close. I mean, I don't mean that with any disrespect. It's just what he does in practice is kind of on the line of ludicrous.
Yeah, no, he's a great dude. He's helped me out a lot in my short coaching career, and really since I've been at South Charleston, since we played some of those Eastern Panhandle teams, He's a great coach, good dude. He's a good one, man. I know he's got a rough style, but I like that.
Had to be Rough Rider, but like, so that kind of transitions into the next what I want to talk about is like what you do in the off season, how you use your flex days. Like what is your main priority? You know, that 6 month stretch. There's a famous quote that I always live by: the winter will ask you what you did in the spring. So you have to be able to show it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So since we've changed to like, the 30 some flex days where you can use year round, we still, basically everybody goes in June, for like what used to be the 3 week period. Those are when all the shootouts are. And you get your kids back in the gym, a few weeks after school is ended. But I use ours a lot in the fall. So like I treat it like when I was in college, we couldn't do like individual workouts in the summer like you can now. So what we do is starting in about October, we'll start lifting back. We'll get back to lifting here in a week or two, but starting in October, we'll go 3 days, and what I do is I try to build that up. So when all of a sudden, when November 16th or 15th, whatever it is, starts, you're not spending 45 minutes teaching 10 different drills. You know what I mean? You're already popping into stuff. Guys know what to do, where to go. And so you're really like a month ahead come November compared to, those, you only get 3 weeks, before that first game. And like,
That goes fast.
yeah, and our time is like, we only get about an hour 45, maybe 2 hours at the rec center, because we get out of school so late. So like, those, I really use those days for skill development and just introducing basic concepts and basic drills that we're going to do. So man, when that first day starts, like we're not spending 45 minutes teaching a bunch of stuff we already know, and we're already installing stuff, and like it's really helped us get ahead as far as that goes.
I feel like if you don't have that schedule, if you haven't adapted to that, using it in the fall with the 32 flex
Yeah.
days, you're going to be so far behind. Like if you're a high school program in West Virginia and you're burning your flex days in the summer,
Yeah.
and then you're not practicing until the actual first practice, it's like what are you even doing at
Yeah.
this point?
Yeah. And some people, I don't even know if we used all 32 last year, to be honest. Like, it's once you like really break it down, it's a lot of days, and I give our kids off July. I know some people go in July, but like I've given our kids the whole month off of July. I want them to go be
I think that's a good time to take. Like that is the
teenagers.
midpoint of the summer. Let them be kids for.
Yeah. Then you don't have to fool with who's on vacation, who's going out of town. Like, my family, we just went on, so like go enjoy your summer for 4 or 5 weeks. I'm going to bring them back here in about a week or two once school starts, and then we'll be weights, open gyms, practices, and stuff like that. It's a long process. You guys know, from August to, March, I'm with these guys almost every day. And so sometimes we get sick and tired of seeing each other. We need a break. A break's a good thing.
Where all did you guys play in June, and how did you do?
So we played over at State, played over at GW. We played I think 7 or 8 games total. We usually get together with Nitro. Me and Austin have a pretty good relationship, and we go against their guys. And I think we went 4-2. We have a really young team this year. Lost 5 out of our top 6. So it's good. It was good to. Stylistically, we're probably going to have to play a little differently than we have. We're going to be really small, not a whole lot of size and length, but our kids play hard. Yeah, our kids play hard. We got some guys that can make shots. So like going back to that prior conversation, we probably are going to have to shoot a bunch of threes. Like we're probably going to have to play outside in this year instead of inside out, which is what we did the last couple of years.
Well, I just have a couple more questions for you, Josh. Like I said, we really appreciate you hopping on the pod with us today. What is something that you expect of your team year in and year out, regardless of the talent?
Regardless of the talent is, I always tell our kids, like, you can always control your effort and your attitude, right? So, like, every shot's not going to go in. You're not going to make the right play. You're going to have turnovers. Do we want those things to happen all the time? No. But, like, it's part of basketball. You know what I mean? But, like, if there's a ball on the floor, like, you can control diving after it. That is your decision. If somebody drives into the lane, like, you're going to make a decision whether to stand in there and take a charge and sacrifice your body. You know what I mean? So, like, those are always things that you can control. And your coachability too. There may be some things said that you don't like, but that's the way it is. You know what I mean? That's the real world. And if you can fight through some adversity, if you can give good effort, if you can be tough, like not only is it going to help you immediately, but it's also going to help you down the road, become an adult, and when you go into the workforce and you get our age.
Last one for me. I just wanted to ask, what are your expectations for this year from losing some guys? And what's the path to get to the state tournament? How do you beat the Beckleys, the GWs when it matters at the end of the year?
Yeah, so, that's probably going to be something that we figure out as the year goes on. We lost 90% of our production. I have a really good guard back named Malcolm Brown, who I think is going to be one of the better guards in the state and in our conference. And I've got a freshman who's going to be really good. But it's going to be interesting to see as we move on. It's kind of going to be trial and error. Like I said, stylistically, we're probably going to have to change some things that we do to give ourselves a chance. And I don't know exactly what those are that is yet after 6 or 7 games this summer. But as we get into the meat of it, we got some guys playing football, but once they come back, it'll be interesting to see. But as far as us getting to the state tournament, we dropped down to AAA this year, so we're going to have to go through the likes of Chapmanville, Nitro, Spring Valley. So honestly, it may be harder for us now. You know what I mean? You just with the GWs and the back, like you just got to get through one of them. You know what I mean? Like now it's like you beat Nitro, now you get Chapmanville.
Chapmanville and Spring Valley have really turned a corner since when I was there as well. I mean, those guys have actually built like elite programs now consistently.
Chapmanville's really good. They've been good.
Chapmanville's really good. They're slept with. I think they're the most underrated team in the state.
I've seen a guy that's I think he's a sophomore or junior for them right now. I think his last name's Terry. I've been seeing videos of him on Facebook playing big shots. He is built like a man, and he's got baby face still. I'm like, that guy's a dog.
Yeah, they're really good. I think that they started like 2 or 3 freshmen last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be really good. We're playing them in the regular season, so
that'll be cool.
We'll get a taste early.
Coach, you didn't give any predictions like the EPAC coaches do and say you got the best point guard in the state or the best. Every EPAC coach I've talked to, they say we got the best point guard in the state. We got the best center in the state.
Man. It's that DC.
Every team up there, man. They're like, we got the best. I'm like, how do y'all have the best point guard in the state at every school in the same section?
Yeah.
Hey, watch how you talk about the EPAC now, brother, man. Hey,
that physicality.
Who will be the team up there? Like I didn't follow it as much this off season just because like we don't have to go through those teams anymore.
I think are the 2 clear ahead favorites right now. But then obviously you got Hedgesville, Coach Church.
Yeah.
I think Martinsburg, they're young, but they're talented. Like their freshmen, their JV team both went undefeated. Like they're incredibly built, but I still think they're a year away.
Yeah.
And then Musselman and Jefferson are still, kind of retooling. But Musselman, like I said, they went to the tournament 6 years in a row. I played for Musselman. Jefferson, they went there 5 years in a row. The EPAC just has runs. So that's the way I judge it. MSAC is the same way, though. I mean, like you said, Huntington had that long spurt of dominance. You saw how they were last year. I mean, basketball, the beauty of it's poetry. It changes all the time.
It does. I mean, that's the same way with us, right? We had been 3 years in a row and should have been this past year, and now it's like our whole team has completely changed. So like
that's the expectation, though. At least in my mind, is every year you want to go dance in Charleston. That's how
that's hard. I mean, that's the expectation at South Charleston. It always has been. They had a few down years there, 7 or 8 years ago, but like since I've been there, even before me going through, I mean, you had like guys like Brandon Napper and Perry Henry. I'm sure you all know those names. Like
I play against BK, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
The expectation is South Charleston. It should be in the state tournament. Anything less than that is disappointing. I mean, that's just the way it is. And sometimes it puts a little bit of pressure on you and your players. But, I think it's good. Expectations are good. I think it's something that you can, communicate with your team about. Like, hey, this is where we're expected to go. If you guys want to go here, these are the things that need to happen. So,
exactly.
That's all I got, man. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and Coach Josh Daniel, the South Charleston Black Eagles head coach, thank you so much for joining us, man. I think what I'm going to take away from it, especially what you just said, expectations are a great thing to have. Like, you want to have that expectations. You want something to shoot for. Because if you don't, I mean, it's very pointless and meaningless in a way. So I appreciate that little tidbit you gave us. And thank you for taking about 30 minutes to come on here and join us today, man. Good luck this season.
Yeah, appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you guys, man.
Tell Carter I said, what's up?
I will.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Again, we want to thank Coach Josh Daniel from South Charleston High School for hopping on the pod with us today. We really appreciate him taking time. I know he's creating such a great program down there, Josh.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to finally get a MSAC guy on here, and I wanted to make it a point to get guys that are respected, that have had success, that It just brings another dynamic, man. So I like that we got him on there this week for sure.
For sure. And, obviously he came over from Herbert Hoover, and he was about 30 games under 500 in his 6 years that he was there. This will be his 7th year at South Charleston, and you can just see the leaps and bounds improvements in his team when you just go look at their records, via Max Preps. It's just like they're constantly improving. Last year wasn't even necessarily a down year for them. They competed and they were a really good team, but as you know, the MSAC is just so difficult to really get through. It is a gauntlet itself.
Yeah, I think they went like 16-7 or something maybe. So that's a great record. And back to the Hoover stuff, it's like we talked about this with the other coaches we've interviewed, but it's like really the position or the place you go and the roster you have plays so much of an effect, man. Because it's like we know he's a good coach and we know what he's doing now. So to have that success at Hoover almost makes you think like, what could anybody do to have made them a better team at that time? Because it's like he probably did all he can.
And like you said, we spoke to coaches too about like how do you get your guys motivated when they're going to a game that they're expected to lose by 30. And it's all three of the coaches had a similar answer but different. It's all about motivating the guys, but it all kind of goes back to, okay, we're going to get better. So it's almost like a practice game. I know you can't look at it like that, but it's interesting to see, some of these guys that I know that I've played against that obviously are around our age now that are starting to break down the game and be like, hey, even if you don't have a real opportunity to win, doesn't mean you cheat the game. You still have to go out there and compete.
Yeah, they've changed my mindset on that for sure because I never viewed it as a way of like we treat the whole regular season as a practice. But my thing is like at the end of the day, you roll the ball out, who's the better players.
Right.
And it's like, man, it's really, really tough to think of scenarios to where the Spring Mills team could lose when it matters or when like a Martinsburg versus like say a Riverside could lose. Like I don't know how many practices or how many games you could do in the year to really roll the ball out at the end of the day and like these guys are better. It just will take a miraculous game.
Yeah, and so like the way I look at it too is I'll break everybody down in the matchup at a 7-game series. Like how many games can this team possibly even get out of a 7-game series? I remember I was talking to Ryan. I was like, say you matched up with GW today. I'd say I think you guys would force them into 6. Like I was like, if you guys go 6 games, that means you can beat them twice. And what's the beauty about the state tournament? It has that March Madness feel. You just got to get some team once. So I feel like the gap between maybe a team that's 7 to 10 points, underdogs, I feel like it gives them much more of an opportunity to compete because, hey, this is a 1-game play all we need is a few bounces to go our way. Compared to like, if you got a team that, okay, these got 2 6'7" guys and my big 6'4", you already know you're coming in a real big hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing too, is there's so much of a gap. So when I've been talking about this, I'm kind of looking at like the bottom feeder teams that are trying to make it to the middle of the pack. Now, I think any team in the state tournament can win, like we talked about before. So I think that's a different dynamic. Any team in the state tournament, I think coaching wise, if you made it to the state tournament, you could have a game plan to where you might be able to catch that team on surprise. And you might beat them that night. My thing is, how can you get these teams that have bad records in and year out that might not have the genetics and have the skill in their community? How can you get them to eventually make a state tournament? And that's the hardest thing. Like, I still haven't figured that out. I'm trying to think of that and like, how can we make these bad teams? How could we get them to where they're middle of the pack?
And I think it goes all back to language and stuff too, because when you say like, how do we get these bad teams to the middle of the pack? Well, that comes on a coach to be like, hey, we're not bad. We're working. We're a work in development. That's like there's things that you got to have areas of improvement on. So like putting somebody in a box saying, oh, they're terrible, they can't do anything. When you get your team and you say, hey, this is what I got, you automatically look, okay, there's this areas of opportunity. Say you have a team that could shoot the ball, but they really can't play defense. Well, obviously you don't want to completely go away from shooting the ball in practice and getting live reps, but you want to definitely focus on maybe 70% of your practice being focused on, the fundamentals of defense, getting down an appropriate stance, not falling back on your back feet, staying on your toes, on the balls of your feet. It's a lot of things that have to be changed in a program. That's why programs aren't built overnight. Like you look at Morgantown, Dave Tallman, he's done a terrific job with that. But when I played, when we played 10 years ago, we beat Morgantown twice. Like they only beat us once. Like Morgantown was not the Morgantown that we know today. As Sharon Young have multiple players that's going to play at Division I level, and Tallman, obviously probably a D1 coach if he wanted to go that route.
Yeah, so the thing with those good programs is like they still have a foundation to build off of, but like these conversations with the coaches that I've gained from that is like you have a lot of great coaches that have been in certain situations and they still didn't have the product. So it's like, how much could Josh Daniel have done at Hoover to really put them over the top that he didn't do?
Right.
How much could Ryan Miller do which I always use them as an example, at Riverside? So,
Right.
like, it would take a long time to get that program changed, and it would take a lot of things. So it's like you can't really, and like Daniel was saying, Coach Daniel said, look, 1 year, like this year, they're going to have 90% of their production gone. So it's like what they do this year isn't a natural reflection on how good the coach is.
But okay, so you say that, but then I don't want to make this about myself because he's about the modern day kids. But I look back to my team in 2015. We lost 4 starters from the year before. We lost Lee Daniels, Tommy Hargrove, R.J. Stevens, and obviously Trayvon Wesco, who's first team All State, All State captain. So that's coming into the next year. We were projected to probably be the worst team in the EPAC. Then we ended
That's a
up being
great
the
point.
second and making it to the state tournament. So I think good coaches will expedite a rebuild. So if they have some sort of talent or pieces there, they'll find a way to sneak wins here and there. If they have any decency of talent and they have talent that's not too much ahead of them, they're going to find a way to compete and a lot of times come out on the upper hand. So that's what
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah. Especially in West Virginia high school, it's like you have no excuse if you're in one of these programs that like have had success, you have no excuse to ever have a bad year.
right.
Even a down year, you still should be in contention at the end of the season because you're going to have, like all the coaches say, you're using the year as a practice. So then when you get to the end, you should have no excuse to where what you've built to best their outcome, to make their outcome the best you can.
For sure. And again, you cannot control the pieces you have. And now, like, the transfer portal makes it so much different because you have, as a coach, you have to put your mind in the players. You have to see what's going on in the locker room because you couldn't just jump ship when we played, bro. You had to figure it out. If you want to transfer, okay, you're going to sit out a year if it's in the county. Good luck. If you want to go to a different school outside the county, it's on you, whatever. But like now with this transfer portal, these coaches every day are almost like in a college like mindset where you're recruiting your players daily. It doesn't just stop whenever they're enrolled. Like the moment a relationship is fractured between a player and a coach, one of the two is going to go. It's how it goes in pro ball, how it goes in college, and now it's how it is in high school.
Yeah, so at the coaching class the last 2 days, they've been talking about that a lot. So every kid gets a one-time free transfer. So anywhere you want to go, you can choose. Now, if you want to go from middle school, if you want to go to a different high school, then it counts as your one-time transfer, but you can still do it. So, but I think, man, it's so important that respectable coaches, like if you've been at a program for a while, you have to have relationships with the youth
Right.
kids. So like if I'm a high school head coach right now, I'm going to youth games, I'm going to middle school games, practices, I'm going to everything in my feeder school. I'm building relationships with the parents, the kids. Then when they do end up getting good in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, it's not even a question, oh, where am I going? They've already been cool with
Right.
me for all these years. And I think coaches have to put that legwork in. Like Coach Kyle talked about that. Like he said, I'm going to middle school practices. I'm going there because then it won't even be a question. Now you have coaches in our area that's like, they're not doing that. And they're like, why are our guys going to different high schools? Because you never even made it an effort to recruit them. Like at the class, they said, like, we encourage you, the SSAC encourages you to recruit your guys. So
Yeah.
if they're your feeder middle schools,
You're
you can
going
recruit them all you want.
because they're already yours.
You're allowed to go there and recruit as much as you want. So I think if you're a high school head coach, you better get involved with your youth. You better get involved with your middle school and build those relationships so they don't even question.
And like when you say that, like you have to go to your feeder schools. Like you look at Musselman, they go to Musselman Middle, or Martinsburg goes to North and South, and so on. Every school in the county. But like I think with the whole dynamic too of adding like reclassifying to the situation, obviously rule change now. You cannot reclassify after the 7th grade. You automatically start, using your semesters. I believe you get 14 semesters after you enter 7th grade, which will take you all the way up until after your senior year. So we have parents now that we're dealing with in my area currently. There's 2 kids I know personally that are going through a problem where they reclassified in 8th grade, but they're going back there. It's just kind of like a judicial issue. We're like, hey, well, he reclassified after 7th grade. He's already used all of his semesters, so he should be eligible to play. So that I think reclassifying and transferring needs a better bylaws, something to give us a better understanding, not something that just leaves it up for a judicial process to have to decide.
Yeah, 100%. And like I heard you say that, but like middle school, you get a chance. So
Yeah.
DuPont Middle School, for example, they went 12-0 last year. That's Riverside's middle school. Riverside's main feeder middle school is the only one that feeds the Riverside. They went undefeated last year in basketball, won the county championship, okay? I think at least 3, maybe 4 of their starting 5 is not going to Riverside next year.
Why would they?
They're burning their one-time high school transfer rule in 8th grade to go to Capital High School or GW High School, one of the two, instead of Riverside. So they're burning their transfer before they even enroll. So they're not even going to Riverside High School. They're burning it after 8th grade.
Like, and I feel like
which
I
is
think that's what
craziness.
I understand. Even at that point, though, you're getting to decide, okay, this is where I want to go for the future of my life, and I get that. I
Mhm.
think every kid deserves that. I just think that basketball in eighth grade should not determine what your future matters. Like, you shouldn't put your parents in a predicament like, oh, you want to go to GW, oh, you want to go to Cat, you want to go to South Charleston. Like, so you're going to make us have to re-up our lives 45 minutes to an hour every day, and then additionally in the afternoon, make sure you have transportation. I feel like parents are becoming too friendly with their kids. So you have to learn, like, hey, you're going to go through this grind. If it's something that's not for you and you want to burn and transfer, then by all means. But I feel like where you grow up is where you should at least enroll at to start at. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion.
Everything I see about coaches, like higher level coaches, or like even at this class, the instructor, they're saying like the worst part about these jobs are parents.
Right.
Now, you can take that a million different ways, but with what we're talking about specifically, it's like these parents think that their kids, each of them are delusional to the point they think their kid is the best player. Their kid is going to go D1, their kid is going to the NBA. If anybody doesn't cater to the exact thing that they think, then they're against their kid. So then you have a team of 5 guys. They all think that the coach is against their kid if they're not putting them in the exact situation. And it's not even that they're putting them in wrong situations. It's like if their kid's not doing the best, if they're not the one scoring, like, oh, we're taking them out. So you're instilling that principle in these kids in middle school that they can go to an easier situation and have better success just based on where they're at. It has nothing to do with where they're at.
Yeah, and like I said, I have experience with the AAU circuit this year, and let me tell you what, it was probably the most awful experience in my life from a coaching perspective. I think coaching high school is awesome and admirable, and like coaching kids. But my experience with the parents, like, I know coaches that I coached with that were nervous to put their kids on the bench just because of the backlash they would get for giving the kid a break. The kid's tired; he just ran. And then there's kids that are clearly not at that level that even when you try to find spots to play them, they're just not serviceable. And then you get talked to after the game. Like, what are you doing here? You should play more. I still remember I had a parent come up to me after a game where we just got robbed out of a championship game essentially. And she came up to me and scolded me in front of all my other parents after I gave my team a message. Everybody else was fine. She was just like, you shouldn't be able to say that word. And I said the F word. And I did. I don't agree in being crazy out there cussing. But you give up a
Mhm.
17-point lead in the fourth quarter of a championship game, and now you find yourself down by 3 with 9 seconds left to go. Sometimes what the F's going to come out your mouth. So
Yeah.
I feel like parents, to wrap it all up, have really ruined the game.
Yeah, they try to, we'll spend a lot of time talking about that. So the parents, they really had this delusional mindset of where it's not the success of everyone, it's just the success of their kid. But
Exactly.
they don't, like, they might not have been a player. They might not have went through this grind. So they don't understand the ups, the downs, the things that it takes to get to the final product. They think like, if we put my kid in the most expensive league with the most expensive coach, with the most expensive tournaments, they think that is going to make their player and their kid a higher product. They don't understand the actual grind of the basketball. So they're just like, well, why is this not working out? It's because we have to go through the grind. It's not working out because it's not supposed to work out. What makes them great is that it doesn't work out in the beginning and they keep struggling and they keep doing better. But with the parents specifically, like, I just think that it's important to have the most open communication with the parents from day one, whether it's first grade kids or high school kids. You got to have meetings with the parents. You got to have open communication. You got to tell them, like, look, anything that you have a question with, let's talk about it, but let's not make the player, let's not reflect it on the player. Let's not make it harder for them. So don't do this at games. Don't come to me after a game right when it's a 24-hour rule. A parent should not come up to a coach after a game.
It shouldn't
If
happen.
you
But
have a problem, you call me the next day. But I'm all for, like, if you want the best for your kid, do not make it harder for them during the game. Don't be up there yelling crazy stuff. Don't approach the coach. Don't say the coach is wrong. You have to, like, get a relationship with the parents and make that effort to be like, look, we're in this together. I got the best thing for your kid in mind, and we just need to be adults about it, which you're still going to have crazy parents, but you got to handle it professionally for sure.
so obviously there is some good parents out there. I just want to be. I had some great parents when I coached this year that were awesome to me. That always said thank you. I think if you're a parent and you're watching this, when's the last time you told somebody that coaches your son or your daughter's team thank you for taking time? Would you want to be the one? Would you want to switch shoes? Like, always put yourself in somebody else's shoes when it comes to that. Like I know now, like I used to have some issues with some of my former coaches, and I realized, man, I was just one of the many headaches that he had, and I felt so awful for that. And I just think as we move forward in society, I hope we start coming to a common decency that, hey, we just need to be more thankful for who wants to help our kids. Obviously, if somebody's wrong, you check them. I'm 100% for holding people accountable. That's coach included. But make sure if you're going to hold people accountable, tell them thank you as much as you tell them how bad they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to get my last thoughts of this, just to wrap it up, is like, man, you can handle anything in life as an adult. So it's like, if I don't agree with something that my best friend's doing, we're going to sit down and talk about it. We're not going to be combative about it. We're not going to be argumentative about it. So it's like, if you don't agree with something, then call me or meet with me and let's chop it up and we'll talk about it. We don't
And it's
have
like
to
24
we don't
hours.
have to be right or wrong.
Yeah, and I think like you said, like that 24-hour rule, like my wife always goes by like, hey, let's just sleep on it. Like if we're both angry at each other or something, I guarantee when you go to bed and you wake up refreshed in the morning, some people can't do that because they have anxiety. Mine's different. Like I'm like, okay, let me just relax. I usually can recompartmentalize myself and get better. But I just think, you should always give coaches a little bit of a break. I'm a firm believer that it should be an open door policy. Anybody should be able to come in. There should be transcripts of everything that's said. We can just have an open, honest dialogue. I don't have no problem with that. I just think when things get behind closed doors and some parents try to get too friendly with you, like I had an issue with that where like I had a parent show up to my house. I'm like, how did you get my house number? And she brought me cookies. You know what I mean? Like and I was like, hey, like all due respect, I can't take those cookies. This looks like you're bribing me to play your son. So it's just something we have to work on as society, but we'll go ahead and move forward. I know TBTs tonight, as we're recording, West Virginia and the Elite Eight opportunity to get to the Final Four tomorrow. Josh, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so they play now. I think last game that they played, I thought that was when they were going to get bounced. I thought that was probably one of the
We
best
both did.
teams. I thought that was one of the best teams in the tournament that they played last game. So tonight, after looking at the rosters, I think West Virginia on paper should win tonight. Honestly, I really do. I think I think they're playing Maryland's alum. I think Maryland's alum would lost to the team that West Virginia just beat. So
Yeah,
I think they
who's on
got.
that Maryland alums roster though?
So they have Mello Trimble, which is like the biggest one that sticks out.
Yeah, he's from our era.
And then you have like Diamond Stone, big 7-footer center. But West Virginia's alum, these younger guys that they brought in this year that had just played at West Virginia, they're cooking, man. So I think it's going to take. I mean, West Virginia could just win this whole thing, honestly, because the
I think
D3.
talent wise, they have the most and left in the tournament.
Yeah, so D3 just won last night, so they're in the Final Four. West Virginia should win and be in the Final Four. They can definitely beat D3. And then I don't know who the other side of the bracket is, but it's going to take like a younger, top to bottom alum team to beat them. Now, Louisville's lost, Ohio State's lost, Kentucky's out of there. Kentucky's gone. So those are three teams that I would have said like, hey, West Virginia's got to watch out for them. Now, West Virginia might be the favorite.
And that I don't like West Virginia in that situation because I feel like it's always where they've struggled most at. Whenever they're the favorite and they're not the underdog, I would prefer. I think they're 2.5-point favorites tonight. Like they were underdogs last game. I think they're 4.5-point underdogs last game, and that's why they came out. And they've had two straight comebacks where they come back and they find a way to win this game. That's why I love the Elon ending. I think it is such a fascinating side of basketball. Like you can't just run the clock out, buddy. You got to get to this point where you don't win. I think it should be extended. I think the 8 points should be about 15. I think you should have to get 15 points after that time to win the game.
Yeah, I think that is one thing. Like I'm not huge on like eccentric rule changes to like the game because everybody's real like prideful and like we got to keep basketball original. But I would almost prefer that in basketball, man. Like I would not be mad if that was in more levels of basketball. Like I want the high school shot clock. I like the elam ending in pros. I would be fine with that, man. I really like that a lot.
I think it could be something that's introduced. Maybe instead of doing overtime, you do a target score. I think that's what
Yeah.
because I feel like there's a lot of triple overtime. Like it goes a really long time. You know what I mean? It's like in the regular season where it might be a Tuesday night and it goes into a double overtime game at 1 o'clock in the morning. Kids got school in the morning, yada yada. You can limit some of those issues. I know that's a dime and a dozen when that happens, but it still can happen.
Yeah, like I had a lot of AAU games coming up where like you're like, okay, it's sudden death, and I'm like, this is the worst. Like this is the worst rule
No.
ever. So I love how they're ruling the TBT, man. It's like you have to score to win. Like you have to get to a point. Like I'm a huge UFC guy, and everybody's mad now. They're like, man, we need to get rid of rounds, or we need to have live scoring. And I'm like, that's kind of the same thing that the TBT's doing. Like they're eliminating the point of where it's just stagnant. Yeah, we're playing the game to get to a result. So why at the most important point of the game are we just stop trying to get to a result?
So
If you want the game to end in the third quarter, then end the game in the third quarter. Why
yeah,
are we running the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter out to win?
yeah.
Just end the game after the third quarter. Then we're playing to get to a result.
I was cutting a
Somebody
client.
has to do something to win the game.
Right, right. Now, and I was cutting a client a couple of days ago that brought this up to me. He said at the end of the third quarter there should be a target score. I was like, I feel like it's still kind of early, but man, it makes sense. Like, hey, you should score 25 points in a quarter to win that game. And so, say somebody's down, let's say it's 50-42 at the end of the third quarter. So they have to get 75 points. That means the team that's down has to outscore them 33-24 to win the game. I really love that aspect. I thought that was pretty.
Yeah, and that just what we touched on a second ago, just to kind of pivoting just a little bit, is West Virginia needs a shot clock, man. Because, bro, why are you playing your whole life in West Virginia until you graduate with no shot clock, and then you go to the next level? What do you have?
It's because the hollows of your towns, bro. It's because the Kanawha Valley got towns
It's
that
like,
can't afford shot clocks. That's what they're telling us.
yeah, I mean, bro, like you're playing your whole life with no shot clock, and then you're getting it. Like, here's what's crazy to me: you got guys in West Virginia that's getting D1 scholarships that's never played with a shot clock in their whole life.
They have no
And now you're
chance.
saying, okay, look, you're a 4-star recruit, you're a 3-star recruit, you never even played with a shot clock. Now you're going to play with a shot clock. Like, you have to prepare these guys. How can you prepare these guys academically and athletically, but not give them the resources and the rules to play what they're going to go? That's like doing a class and not giving them a textbook and then saying, okay, you're going to study this now, but you never had this textbook. Like, you have to give it to them.
Right. But at the same sense, they said the infrastructure to put in shot clocks in the state would cost over $6 million, somewhere along that line. I don't know the exact number.
Really?
So I was
How
like,
does every other state do it?
it's because that's been implemented. The one thing about that I'll kind of contest your opinion on is I believe like it depends who you played for. Like when I went to college, I had no problem with the shot clock because all of our shots happened within 14 to 18 seconds on the clock. That was usually our sweet zone. So you get 30 seconds and college. When I first came, it was 35. That's how old I am. It was 35 seconds my first year, and then it went down to 30. I was like, oh my gosh, I've got an attorney on offense. It's the same thing. But then you look at Coach Church and how he coaches. Like he won a state championship game scoring 33 points. You know what I mean? And that's because he had ball possession's a huge battle. Like if you look at football, the team that wins possession time typically wins the game about 80% of the time.
Yeah, and that's my thing too. It's not even really if the players can adjust. Like we're good basketball players, so we could adjust. It's more like it's the rules that are set in place. So it's like if you're not teaching and preparing the kids for the rules that they're going to be playing under at the next level, you're doing them a disservice. Like, how can you prepare a guy to do a driving test and don't teach him how to parallel park and then say, okay, you got your CDLs, now you got to parallel park? You never taught us.
Right, exactly.
So, like, I can't believe there's not a shot clock in high school because that's literally, you're not preparing someone for a whole facet of the game they're going to be playing at the next level.
For sure. And so I know we pivoted here. We'll go ahead and pivot back. Okay, we just got a live update. Colorado head coach Deion Sanders and his medical team announced that he had a bladder tumor that has removed, and Sanders is now cured from cancer. That's a crazy update. Sorry.
Nobody even said that. At least, I mean, I thought you were going to say he's not able to coach.
It looked like when I got the headline it was, but we'll move forward. I'm going to go back
They come to Morgantown this year. That'll be cool. A little West Virginia football shout out. They'll be there. I saw West Virginia women's basketball video coordinator followed the EPAC. Their women's basketball team video coordinator followed the pod on Twitter yesterday. I saw. So I
did see that too. Hold on, we're gonna do a live look at her Twitter real quick.
We could get some West Virginia women basketball players or coaches on there for sure. I'm all for the women's side of it too.
For sure.
Yeah, we could definitely get some women's, especially West Virginia women basketball. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be super dope. I mean, like I said, I'm all about empowering the sport. I think women's basketball it does have a ways to go, but we have seen the progress. We've talked probably saying, hey, the NBA right now is in its 80s mode. It's in its Bird, MJ, Magic.
Yeah, because you got Reese, you got Clark, you got these girls, Juju. You got the ones that were back then. You got the young, Juju's the young one.
People aren't ready for that game Juju's about to bring because people think how eccentric Caitlin Clark actually is. I'm telling you, Juju's a better shooter. Maybe doesn't have the range consistently, but Juju's a better shooter. She's a better scorer. She's a better defender. She's popular. I mean, she might. I don't know. She dated Jaden Daniels, but they're always together. So you had that type of dynamic. That the TV ratings for the WNBA are starting to explode. That's why I really was against the WNBA players getting a pay raise. But the more I look back at the numbers and the analytics, it's not the number that they're thinking, but they should definitely. I think they should be making mid-level about $1 million. I really believe that because that league is going to be that popular in 10 years. Yeah, of course, the last 4 or 5 they struggled, but you got to look at the longevity of the league. It's just prospering as long as they don't self-destruct.
Yeah, your take on it was literally spot on though about the '80s. You got your Magic and Bird, you got your Caitlin and Angel, and then you got the young Jordan who is like Juju right now coming up, and that's going to
Can't forget
change
about
the
Sabrina
whole.
too. Like she's
Yeah.
nasty.
So like when
Paige Beckers,
Bird
we
and
need Paige
Magic,
Beckers.
yeah, when Bird and Magic came up, they weren't making anything. Then Jordan said, okay, look, we're going to start making more. So that just tells you, like, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, like, who we think the best girls are right now. There's going to be girls out there dunking crazy. There's going to be girls out there with crazy bags. Like, there's an AAU team in West Virginia, the West Virginia Thunder. They have dogs on that team, bro.
Yeah, nasty.
They might be the best girls basketball AAU team in the country, right?
They're actually ranked second on the East Coast. I looked at
like
it the other
that's nuts. That's nuts. They got girls that can punch it. They
being second out of little West Virginia. Come on, brother.
They got all D1 players basically. They got girls like I saw like a girl that can punch it. There's girls that is dunking. There's girls that have crazy bags. Like it's going to be just like the NBA to where you had your guys that laid the foundation who were good, but then they took those skills of those guys and they just kept building on it to where we're going to have crazy skills from these girls here not too long from now. So.
I've always thought the girls' game, there might be the not top plays that come out of that, but I think as a league, it's so much more skill. But we'll kind of pivot back because we're running out a little bit of time today. So we were actually wrong about who plays tomorrow. The Aftershocks, which is Wichita State, plays We Are D3, and the winner of Eberline Drive and Sideline Cancer play the winner of Best Virginia and Shell Shock tonight. With that being said, we have a little sneak peek of who's going to be on our episode next week. Jake Stevens, the former Eberline Drive player, obviously played at Musselman. He played at VMI, Chattanooga. He will be joining us on our cast for, I believe it'll be episode 5. So make sure you guys tune into that. Josh, did you have any thoughts or anything wrapping up for today?
Yeah, so I think Eberline Drive and Sideline Cancer, I think they're the two most popular and consistent. Like they're the top two teams. I think they're the staple of the TBT. So those two guys, whoever wins that will be in the championship. So I could easily see West Virginia winning this game and then beating D3 or whoever. Well, would they have to play?
They'll have to play Eberline Drive or
in the Final Four.
Yep. So that's like I said, it's a little bit different because it's the West Virginia region since they're the highest seed. So they'll play Sideline Cancer, Eberline Drive. Usually Ohio State's alumni is really good too. Kentucky has a really good.
Got bounced. That was my favorite. That was my favorite.
That's what they had the biggest upset of the tournament. But that's what I love about this TBT. And like I think it's so cool. We have an alumni tournament that the guy I work for Home Team Sports TV on Home Team organizes at Jefferson High School. So all 6 area EPAC schools, all their alumni play for a tournament. Musselman won it the first year, so I got me a chip. And then we won.
So Riverside has their own alumni tournament where it's just class versus class. I've never played in it. They've been doing that for like 6, 7, 8 years. I'm like, man, if I get
in there, stop playing with me, bro. You had.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I'm telling you, I need to just join that thing. I was just waiting. Like I need to get back in the gym to where I'm fully confident. I'll join that thing for sure. But yeah, I'll look for Sideline Cancer or Eberline Drive to win it all for sure. West Virginia, I think they'll definitely win the night. I just think that they're better top to bottom, man. They got a lot of young guys. They got older guys. They got 7-footers out there. They got Jared West is on defense. You got young guys. It's not just old guys. So I look for West Virginia to win for sure, and then that's going to be a great matchup next round. So.
For sure, man. Well, again, that wraps us up for episode 3 of the EPAN to the UKV pod. I'm your host, Drew Pitzer, joined by my co-host, Josh Carpenter. Again, don't want to miss next week. We'll have Jake Stevens on here, hear his thoughts about his professional journey, hear more from us, talk a lot about hoops, man. We love it. So we appreciate you guys so much. Tune in next week.